Recording in progress.
I'm going to call to order the City Council meeting of June the 15th and ask that you stand for the flag salute if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and for the roll this evening, the entire council and the mayor are here in attendance. Does a staff or council member have anything on the agenda order to adjust? Okay, seeing none. Any council or mayor comments? I'll just start with, what day was that, Tony? Was that last Wednesday, Thursday? We had the John Paul Jones, the Navy ship that we adopted. It was going by and leaving, I think, a 6-month deployment. And so we were, had rallied together and tried to put a bunch of American flags out, and we had a great contingency of public works and police and fire all kind of down with their lights on. I assume people were wondering what was happening in the park because all the lights were going. And Tony, thank you very much. You got a couple of very big flags, one hanging off Rose Hill and another that we hung off of the lighthouse. So that was very, very nice, and I'm sure much appreciated by the sailors as they were leaving. And then, of course, we will be reusing them on the 4th of July as well. Council member or Council President Moon.
Thank you, Mayor. AMIAC had their last meeting of this school year last week on Tuesday, celebrated with some wings and some graduated seniors or graduated AMIAC members coming back. And also to celebrate our graduates of elementary, middle, and high school this week. Great job to all the families and all the students, and good luck to the journey ahead.
Yeah, that's good to know they were just winging it. But, all right, Council Member Van Duzer.
Thank you. I too wanted to say that was a great job that the city and the government and the city members did for the John Paul Jones send-off. It really touched my heart, and I hope they all come back safely. I attended the farmers market last Wednesday. Great weather, great turnout, and I'm so pleased to see that back. And I encourage everyone to visit them this week, 3 to 7, down at the waterfront. And then I want to give a big shout out to the city staff, the directors, the city clerk, and the mayor and the city administrator. I received my new council member orientation last week, and that was quite informative, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. Had some enlightening conversations with some of the directors and learned things from behind the scenes. So thank you.
All right, anything else from council? All right, we will move to public comments. I have one signed up, Mr. George Barron.
And for the most part, most of you know what I'm going to talk about. I'm George Barron. I live in Linwood, 9 blocks outside of the city limits. If I'd have moved 9 blocks further here, then I would have had an opportunity to join you, but that's beside the point. Heads up, status on the park, in touch with the consultants, and we're looking forward to doing the eelgrass survey on the 23rd. So that'd be one more step moving forward on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barron. Okay, is there anybody else I see online? I'm going to assume that is, yes, it's Rick Van Holleback.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and city staff. I'm very interested. First, I'm Rick Van Holleback, and I live in Mukilteo down in Old Town. Thanks for the opportunity here. And I'm very interested in tonight's, I want to say first, I did email this out to all the council members. So I do want to share what I sent to all of them today. I hope they had a chance to read it, but I'm very interested in tonight's 6-year transportation improvement program agenda item. But I have several concerns regarding the Mukilteo Speedway project, which is scheduled to begin this summer. While the project represents a significant and much needed investment in one of Mukilteo's most important transportation corridors, I'm concerned that several critical improvements have been deferred and do not appear to be identified for discussion as part of tonight's agenda. So the deferred improvements include in section 2, the bicycle lanes, and in section 3, bicycle lanes and sidewalks, and in sections 3 and 4, where the southbound traffic, where really calming improvements are needed where the 2 lanes merge into one. So according to the current Washington DOT plan, these improvements are expected to be completed during the bridge replacement project. However, from the city's perspective, I have not found any documentation with the TIP or related materials confirming that these elements remain committed projects. My concern is that without formal acknowledgement and documentation, these improvements could become delayed indefinitely or ultimately overlooked. Completing the corridor improvements as a single coordinated project would provide the greatest benefit to motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists while minimizing future construction impacts. Deferring portions of the work creates a fragmented roadway system and leaves known safety concerns unresolved. In particular, the southbound lane reduction that I talked about earlier remains a challenging and potentially hazardous location that warrants continued attention and prioritization. My request is simple. If these improvements must be deferred due to engineering requirements, funding limitations, or other factors, please place on the public record that the city remains committed to completing them at a later date. Given the importance of the Mukilteo Speedway corridor, I believe these deferred projects deserve open discussion and clear documentation to ensure they remain part of the community's long-term transportation plan. I request that the council discuss the status of these deferred improvement during tonight's review of the 6-year TIP and identify how they will be tracked moving forward. Thank you for your consideration and your considered continued service to Mukilteo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Holleback. All right, is anybody else in the room or online who would like to address the council? Sharon Damoff.
Thank you. Sharon Damoff, Mukilteo. I just wanted to say thank you to the city for putting up the America 250 banners around the city. I think they look great, and I'm happy to see them. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for those as well, staff. All right, is anybody else? Okay. We will move on to consent. Does a city council member have any of the items that need to be pulled or a question on any of the consent items? Yeah, hold on a second. Somehow lost my panel here. There we go. All right, Councilmember Duran.
Super minor, but on the minutes of the 26th, and unless the Damoffs have brought somebody new into the family, I don't believe that Elaine is related to them. But like I said, simple correction.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other? All right, we will move the consent agenda as presented. We're going to start with our first public hearing. We have 2 of them this evening. I'm going to open the public hearing. It is a hearing to receive testimony on the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program. Anybody wishing to be heard should sign up on the yellow public hearing sign-in sheet. Yes? Well, let me move to that. I was under 7, which is where that, okay, perfect. You are correct. He's like, yeah. I told him I was going to move him to the end, and I didn't mean to do that. But, all right, we are still opening a public hearing on that. All right. Director Nienhuis, also the interim city administrator tonight. Many hats, and yet you're not wearing yours.
No hat tonight. We do have just a simple PowerPoint to help keep me on track. So good evening, council, mayor, members of the public for this public hearing on the Fifth and Webster right-of-way vacation. I'm Matt Nienhaus, Public Works Director. So this proposed right-of-way vacation started about in 2023, and it's been in front of council several times, including once this year on May 18th. And so tonight's public hearing is the final step in this citizen-initiated vacation process. We've talked about some other things down here in this area, but we're taking them one at a time. And this is the first one because we had some very specific timeframes. So these are two different maps, and you'll see the GIS on the left is different than the survey on the right. And the one we're talking about tonight is the Swiss Stack property and right-of-way vacation. This is their property here in this orangish red, and specifically the dashed part right here. So this cleans up this line, still giving us our 60 feet of right-of-way that we need. So we have gone through all the procedural steps. We've gone through that, and this is the final required action. And should council adopt this tonight, compensation in the amount of $9,825 will be required from the applicant. This represents, per our code, 50% of the appraised value, as the right-of-way was dedicated in the original 1890 plat of Mukilteo, so we did not use public funds to acquire it. So this will allow them to have their 20-foot setback from the road as required. This right-of-way does not physically align with the road, so we'll clean that up. This parcel historically has been landscaped and maintained in the right-of-way by the property owner. And so as we went through our steps, we are at this final step here before we finish it out. So I am here for any questions from the council.
All right, thank you very much, Director Nienhaus. Councilmember Sturba.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one question for clarification. The payment there of the $9,825, is that for the whole piece there? Because I know there was two properties there. One was just a sliver,
Yeah.
but is that?
That's for the whole piece.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
They have also already put down a deposit because they pay for their fees of doing it, but all that has been taken care of beforehand. So this is just for the property. Yep.
All right, any other questions? All right, well, we have a break in questions. I don't have anybody signed up to speak on behalf of this public hearing, but if anybody would like to address the council, and I'm seeing nobody there, and Asa, I don't have who's online, so if somebody does, just let me. Yeah, perfect. All right. Councilmember Duran.
Quick question, and this is just because of my past. Is there any thought, any plan, any vision to have sidewalks down there in that vicinity at any point?
I don't believe we have any plan in any of our plans to put sidewalks down there. No.
And if we did, this wouldn't,
No, because we have the
Really have an impact
60-foot
on that.
required right-of-way. We're maintaining that required right-of-way
so
down
you'd
there.
you still have that available to
It's
you?
sufficient for all easements we need, sidewalk, road improvements, anything within the road prism, yes. Correct.
Oh, go ahead and hit. Councilmember Vago, what's
Do
your
we
point of
have to open the public hearing before we start discussion, or
Yeah,
does it
I did
matter?
open it. It was just I was talking about the next one, but we're open the public hearing.
Oh, we did open it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't need an official vote, but so I get what you're asking. Yeah. I don't need you guys as much as, no. I need you guys, I do. All right, any other questions? Okay, I will accept a motion to close the public hearing. That does take a motion. Councilmember Vago?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Council Vice President Emery. Any discussion on closing the public hearing? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That will pass unanimously. All right, with that, what would City Council like to do? Council Vice President Emery.
Well, I think I would like to make a motion
Okay.
to adopt ordinance number 1536, approving the vacation of Webster Street.
All right, is there a second? All right, we have a motion by Council Vice President Emery, seconded by Councilmember Vago. Any discussion on the motion to adopt ordinance? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That'll pass unanimously. Yeah, I just looked at the, I didn't see that. That's just moving us along quicker that way. Okay. Well, there we go. And after that short vacation, we're on to the item I tried to start with. We'll open the public hearing on the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program. And again, anybody who would wish to speak on that, just fill out the yellow sheet and online raise your hand and we will take you on that. And Mr. Director Nienhuis.
Okay, I was just here on May 26th at a work session to discuss this. And the week before that, we were at the Planning Commission to run through it as we do every year. Again, this is an annual update required by RCW, and this gets submitted to the Regional Council and WashDOT. We have to have this adopted by the end of the month. Couple just reminders. This is for significantly, regionally significant transportation projects, such as ones that are on federally classified roadways, which kind of eliminates some of our little local projects that we like, maybe not little, but like Mukilteo Lane and 92nd Street, you know, those are great projects, but they don't qualify for this program. And really, this is to qualify us for a lot of grants. So like the 5th Street project, you know, we need to have these in our TIP program as we go for grants. I do have a little bit of a PowerPoint, I believe, just to also help keep me on track. Really the only change since last year was the 5th Street Bicycle and Pedestrian Project has been funded. And so we've talked about that. That's a federal grant program. And so we are working on the final design for that. And tonight's focus really is just a public hearing and the resolution approving the program. If you have any changes, please include that in the motion. So I went through every project a few weeks ago, so I'm not going to go into detail on everyone, but I'm here to answer any project-specific questions that we might have.
All right. Any, I'm having a heck of a time with this now. Hold on one second. Okay. Councilmember Duran.
I'm just curious about if you have any response to Mr. Van Hollenbeck with regard to
Well, sure.
safety considerations.
The 525 paving project is not on our TIP. That is a WashDOT project that is funded, I believe, through a PSRC grant. So they have grant with matching funds for that paving project specifically, and it is a paving project, right? It is a grind and overlay and doing ADA throughout the corridor. We worked real close with them on where the crossings need to be, where the ADA ramps and things need to be. But part of that is they need to do when they were here, just like a month in April, they were here in the middle of April to talk to us about it. They did the complete streets for the entire corridor, from 525 through the bridge, right? And all those different alternatives as you work through that. Now, they do not have the funding to implement all those alternatives with this project. And so they're going to do what they can, as they've mentioned, on some of them. The other ones, the design is there, or the alternative is there, for when that comes up in the future. Now, those ones, some of those are gonna require significant amounts of right-of-way acquisition and significant amounts of walls and design and things like that. So it's just not financially feasible to do it right now because we wouldn't get it paved then, right? And so that is not on our TIP program, but that's a little bit of that. Part of that was also the bridge. They did that complete streets at the same time. They kind of bundled that together, even though they're two separate projects. And so they have their complete streets alternative for the bridge. And so that includes complete streets as bike, ped, and cars, right? And you're trying to lower the level of stress for your pedestrians and your bicycles. And they had that 1 through 4. And so a lot of the corridors in that 3 or 4, but they're trying to get it down to a 1 to a 2 as much as they can. And so when they design the bridge, which they should be starting on right now, we haven't seen any designs yet. But that preferred alternative will be incorporated into the design for the bridge. And they're gonna do as much as they can on the 526, or the 525 paving, but yeah. And the other thing he mentioned was some of the very specific details. Yeah, WashDOT does not want specific details in the TIP. They want it super high level, very general, like we're going to improve this corridor and add facilities. They don't want very specific things. They kick it back to me if we put specifics in there. So I can't put that in our TIP that I submit to the state. So when you get to the project, that's when you deal with those very specific things.
Councilmember Van Duzer.
Thank you for that recap, and I don't have my old notebooks from when I was sitting out in the audience. I do recall WashDOT saying, though, much to what Mr. Van Hollenbeck was saying, that there were items that were deferred, and this is kind of what I was alluding to in my email to you earlier this week. And I believe it was related to the bicycles and to the sidewalks, and the way I understood it when they were here is deferred means we're not even going to plan it in the build-out of the new bridge. And that, to me, is concerning because when you build something so significant as a new bridge, deferring something like the sidewalks and the bicycle lanes, that means it's not going to happen anytime soon, like many years. And so how do we, first of all, if you can validate that that is a correct understanding I had, and two, how do we keep that in the forefront? Because that really, those are safety concerns that I have, and I believe many of the council members have. I don't wish to speak for anyone, of course, and I know many of the citizens have.
I'm going to say that we're talking about two completely different things. One is the 525 paving, and one is the bridge. And I think we're getting those a little mixed up, because we did them a lot at the same time with WashDOT, right? And we've gone through this process at the same time. But the things that are going to be deferred, the alternatives for complete streets that are going to be deferred are part of the 525 paving project, which is not on our TIP. The bridge is on our TIP, and because it's a brand new, there's nothing being deferred on the bridge, right? You build a bridge, you're going to build it there for 100 years, right? So the complete streets alternatives are being incorporated into the design for the bridge. But that's a very localized spot, right? And so as you go south from there, some of those alternatives are going to be deferred because they do not have the funds to do them. But I have not heard anything about complete streets being deferred on the bridge. There's no, that is all going to get incorporated. Pedestrian access is a very high priority for the bridge. And we have that rendering of what it's going to look like. We have the alternative that they're going to work for on that bridge as they design it. And we will get to see that design as we go forward. Yeah.
Councilmember Champion.
Thank you, Mayor. Sadly, I missed your May 26th presentation, and admittedly, I did not go back and look at the recap. So my question deals with the parking projects. Are you asking council as part of the TIP to approve these projects? And if you are, shouldn't they be on the map?
Well, we're not approving specific projects per se. We are approving the thought of a parking facility. And we have two site alternatives that we can consider. Could we put them on the map? Maybe, but we don't, they're not a specific site. Hey, we're going to do it here and here. And so that's why we've never actually cited them specifically. That would be part of a future siting study to make sure that that's exactly where we need them.
Okay, so
these are very conceptual type high level things, yes.
And thank you for that response. And so is my question then follows with, are we putting the conceptual idea out there so that we document it with PSRC to make sure that potentially funding is available?
PSRC, WashDOT, and the legislature and all of that, that it is on our TIP and we are going to need help with funding for this.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. But we're not locking ourselves into a specific site.
Councilmember Sturba.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Niehaus, similar to Councilmember Champion's question, when it says park and ride there, that hasn't been decided either, right? Because I know we've talked parking structure that would generate revenue, and then park and ride, which doesn't generate revenue, right?
A park and ride generally is a free, right? It's not like a parking facility. There has been some, the ones that were on council, we had a location in the past. We do not have a location right now, but we, again, are the only city in Snohomish County without a park and ride. And so we keep it on there to keep talking to it with community transit about that, right? We don't have a site for it. No, I don't know where we would put it right now. I don't think the one that we had talked about in the past is going to work any farther. So if that comes up with community transit and the powers that be, we would have to look at a site for that. Correct.
Yeah, and the best use for that site, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just confused because it said park and ride specific and not more open, general.
Correct. It's different than a parking facility. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any further questions? Councilmember Vago.
Thank you. Kind of attaching on to Councilmember Sturba's question, if we were going to find a site for the park and ride, does that mean that the city would have to acquire the land as well? Because we don't really have any land to put it on, right?
Great question. I might put that back on the community transit board member that we have here.
Yeah,
But either,
We won't name any names.
either community transit or the city would have to own it probably, yes.
Yeah, we didn't, the location was on airport property,
Right, yeah, I
yeah.
remember that conversation.
so that's where, in fact, it was 95% done. It just needed to be accepted, which was unfortunate. The previous council and administration let that fall away. So that's the problem, is that there aren't a lot of big pieces of property left. That was a perfect one, right, middle part of town, nice and flat, ready to go. But I think the airport has other uses for that now, is our concern. And so so we're not sure. Also, community transit, as other transit agencies, tend to be gravitating away from those large park and ride lots and going to more micro-transit. The fact that we have light rail up to Linwood now, and building out those facilities, we don't have so much commuter buses where you would catch a bus here and go to
Right.
Seattle. You would now just need to get to Linwood, right, to catch the light rail. So you're seeing a shifting away of some of those larger parking facilities. So
So
that,
we're looking for a smaller space.
well,
Potentially.
we may go micro-transit, if you're familiar with that, or a smaller facility could work. Well, or we continue using what I call our hide and ride lots. We just park at QFC, park at 92nd Street, park, and catch the buses that are running up and down the Speedway. I would still love to find a lot, even if it is smaller, but again, we would need community transit to invest a large sum of money to do that.
Very good, thank you.
Councilmember Sturba.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, I'm just going back to this, right? And hopefully this decision would come back here, right, before we go down the road here, because having a non-revenue generating lot that would fill up, take away from our parking from non-citizens, right, that park there, plus we're talking about a parking structure, because however we develop that waterfront has to have a lot of parking, right? So I think we're losing a revenue generator here if we go down the road too far for a park and ride in that area. I'd encourage us to look others.
Yeah, we definitely would not be putting a park and ride lot down on the waterfront.
Correct.
Non-starter. All right, any further questions? All right, let's go open that up to public. Again, I don't have anybody signed up for this, but if anybody online or in the room would like to address the tip, the 6-year tip. Okay. Then I will bounce it back to council to close the public hearing. All right, we have a motion by Council Member Duran, seconded by Council Vice President Emery, is it? Is there any discussion on the motion to close the public hearing on the tip? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so with that, any further questions, comments, motions? Councilmember Duran.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2605, approving the 2027-2031 Transportation Improvement Program.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Duran, seconded by Council Vice President Emery. Any discussion on the motion to accept? All right, seeing none, we're going to open that up to voting since it's there and she's taking the time to.
It says 31, but.
Okay. Well, we got 5 out of 7.
Oh, wait a minute.
There we go. All right, that will pass you. That will pass unanimously.
You're not drinking.
Yeses, nos, abstentions. All right, now you're just messing with me. All right, let's move on to our first business item, and it is the body-worn cameras. Council's expected now to wear body-worn cameras at all times.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, members of the public, and city staff. Chief William with Mukilteo Police Department here to talk to the council about a motion for the mayor to sign an agreement for a renewal, for a 5-year renewal for Axon body-worn camera contracts. Our Axon body-worn cameras, which I'm wearing here, we've had since 2021, and we signed a 5-year contract with them. That includes not only the hardware, but also more importantly, the cloud storage and the programming for it. The body-worn cameras have become kind of a crucial piece of law enforcement. As you heard during the last work session with Prosecutor Cummins and myself, they've slowed some stuff down, but they've also had profound impact on case closures, on solving, on evidence, and also efficiency gains too. Prior to Axon, we would take digital cameras, take photographs, go back to the PD, take out the SD card, upload it, label it. Officers would all label it differently, which would cause records to lose their mind, then upload it. Now with Axon, what we're able to do is we're able to text the resident or the victim a link, and then they're able to upload images directly from their phone right to the server, automatically gets filed. Same thing with our cameras. Most of our cameras automatically will turn on based off the type of call. We'll record it, and then it's linked with dispatch so that when we go back to the PD, it connects Wi-Fi, it automatically uploads, tags it with the correct case number. So what we found is it's improving efficiency. It's also improving officer accountability too. Prior to this, if we were to get an officer complaint, it can become a pretty long, drawn-out process as we are talking to the residents, talking to the officers, trying to find witnesses. Now with body-worn cameras, oftentimes it can be as simple as me clicking, watching the video real quick and saying, all right, does this have merit? Is this worth us doing a full internal investigation, or can we clear this off pretty quick? So this 5-year agreement, the total amount is for $286,352. Split over 5 years, so each year is $57,270. This Axon agreement will be purchased from the Sourcewell contract. And I guess the last thing I would say is back in 2021, RCW 10-122-030 went into effect. And that was kind of what prompted lots of agencies to go to body-worn cameras. That RCW mandates that law enforcement officers record any juvenile interrogations as well as any felony custodial interrogations. So without body-worn cameras, that means officers on the road are trying to figure out how to film this with a cell phone video and then label it, upload it, and then more importantly, share it with the prosecutor or other law enforcement agencies. I guess I'll open it up to any questions.
All right, thank you, Chief. Councilmember Sturba.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I was just curious on the recommendation, it talks about body-worn camera and taser program, but I didn't see anything else about tasers in the rest of the presentation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that might have been a mistake on me. Yeah, so Axon is also the same company that we do our tasers for, and so oftentimes the renewals will include taser cartridges. This one does not, though, so that was just an error on my part.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Durant.
Thank you, Chief, for the presentation. I didn't see anything in here, and I know that I've heard the discussion at the dais, and I've seen it in media reports. Is there any movement afoot at Axon to include any sort of AI that facilitates report writing in addition to just the videoing?
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, we joke in the police department about how Axon's slowly gonna take over the world, because yes, they do have what's called Axon First Draft, where they'll take the video and they'll write a first draft of the narrative. They also, something that's really cool, is they also have Axon Translate, where real time, you can press the button, someone speaks you in a different language, and then it translates it audibly, plays it, you speak it, and so it can kind of act as a translation device. Unfortunately, Axon's not very charitable, so both of those services cost extra money, which is not part of this proposal.
Oh, sorry.
Not part of the proposal. That's fine. However, it is clear that municipalities are under more and more stress. And to be able to eke every amount of, of production out of any staff member is got value without having to increase the size of the department. Just curious, is that something that the department is considering proposing, or at least putting in front of the mayor with regard to the budget time coming up, only with the idea in mind that it saves something on the other side?
That in particular is not, but there is going to be a new budget item that's kind of more higher level technology and optimization focus. My only hesitation I have with the Axon Draft 1 is, and AI is constantly changing, it's getting better and better every day. But about a year ago, some university researchers did studies on it, and they found while it improved the report writing, it didn't actually speed up the efficiency. And so it's kind of a balancing act. So some of the things we've done at the department is everyone at the department has a Grammarly Pro business license to help with their report writing and help with that. So we're constantly looking for ways to kind of squeeze out the efficiency. I would just need to dive more to figure out is the cost that it costs, because my guess is it's going to cost quite a bit. Is that worth the efficiency gains we would see?
Councilmember Champion.
Thank you, Mayor, and Chief, thanks for the presentation. These discussions got me thinking of economies of scale, and I was curious if you knew, do Washington municipalities prefer Axon over other vendors, or is there another vendor, or how does that all work? And if Axon is the major provider, would police departments across the state consider, banding together to see if we could, from a larger perspective, get a better price break?
Well, yeah, thanks for that question. So there are a few other providers. Motorola, Axon's definitely the predominant one. Motorola was a little bit late to the game, and so they're playing catch up. One of the mentions is, this was priced off of the Sourcewell contract, and so that does, take competitive pricing in there. The issue we have with technology such as body-worn camera when it comes to multiple municipalities doing it is each municipality has their own union, their own guild, and so part of the process of when we first implemented this was having those discussions with the union and guild of saying, when can we review it? What will be released? And so I think that would be one of the issues that would come up if we were to look at that. But I know there is significant talk with other cities. I just had lunch today with 2 other chiefs to talk about how can we band together and maybe collaborate on a new employee that we split. And so there is constantly conversations about that. But particularly with body-worn cameras, I don't know of any other cities that are sharing it.
Okay. Well, thank you. Maybe that's something we can work on over the course of the next 5 years.
And just to speak specifically to the contract, we looked at both the state and the national contract for them. And the national was the better price, so we were able to go through that. So it's on multiple contracts, so yeah. Yep.
Okay, any further questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll go to the public. Anybody who'd like to address the council on the body-worn cameras online or in the room? Okay. Back to council. Council President Moon.
Motion to authorize the mayor to renew an agreement with Axon Enterprises in the amount of $286,352.80, payable over 5 years.
All right, we have a motion by Council President Moon, seconded by Council Vice President Emery. Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, we will put it up for a vote. All right, that will pass unanimously. All right, thank you, Council. We will go to item number 10, the Nova Global Contract Amendment. Chief Ilian, you are still up.
Okay, all right. Thank you, City Council, Mayor, members of the public, and city staff. Chief Ilian here to talk about a Nova Global automated traffic camera contract amendment. This amendment is kind of split into two different parts. One is changing the price fee structure, and then the second one's about a second notice. So if it's all right with you, I'll kind of do them one piece at a time so that we don't hopefully get confused. So a little bit of backstory. The city authorized an automated traffic camera back in December 4th, 2023, including 2 park zones and 2 school zones. One of those park zones is at the 300 block of the Speedway of Rose Hill. And that camera right now just captures southbound traffic, so traffic coming up the hill. Now, when we first did the speed studies, and what most cities see is they see kind of this almost double hump design in driver behavior, where you have a big decrease, and then the second year you have another decrease until it kind of eventually levels out at about 96% of the original violations. We have not seen that. We saw the initial one, and then I'm going to be presenting the annual report in July 13th at the work session. And what we'll see is the big one, and then it just levels out. So we're holding pretty steady throughout the city with all of our violations. The camera down at Rose Hill right now is set for an 11 mile per hour trigger. So that means you have to be speeding by 11 miles over the speed limit before the camera captures it and issues an infraction. So that's essentially allowing a 42% speeding margin of error down there. One of my work plans for 2026 was to lower that threshold down to 9 miles per hour over the speed limit. So a new trigger speed of 34 rather than 36 miles per hour. The issue we run into with Nova Global is their pricing structure. They've never had a city, quite frankly, with as many violations on these cameras as ours. Because in most other cities, cameras are on different types, more residential streets. And so they're not seeing the high volume that we're having. In their current contract, they have the ability to kind of limit, think of it like a tap, to kind of close the spigot a little bit to limit how many are actually getting triggered. So right now, the camera at Rose Hill, we're averaging about 1,376 infractions per month, and that's actually only 67% of all the violators that pass by there. So there's a lot of violators that are going through. So that's, right now it's set to trigger the worst of the worst. So if you're going 50 and then there's someone going 36, it's going to trigger the 50 mile per hour, and the 36 mile per hour individual won't even get a warning or notification. Obviously that can cause some equity issues, because you can imagine one of the #1 questions I get is someone will come in with their infraction and there'll be another car in the photo. They don't even care that they're getting a ticket. They just want to know, did he get a ticket? And I have to tell them, like, well, by law, I can't actually tell you if they did or did not get a ticket, but it amazes me how often I get asked that question. So the issue right now that we're running into is Nova Global, their price tier, top price tier, is at 101 tickets or more, and we pay $5,700 a month. We pay that same amount if we were to issue 4,000 tickets or 5,000 tickets. And so at a certain point, it becomes loss-making for the vendor, because every ticket actually has a human component on their side, where a human first reviews it, make sure the license plate matches what the DOL return is, make sure it matches the speed thresholds, the time threshold, and then they approve it, and then it goes to an officer queue for a second level of approval. And then you take into account also the mailing. Each infraction is mailed. Any subsequent court documents are also mailed. So there you have another 82 to 78 cents for the postage for that being mailed too. So what this contract amendment does is essentially Section 3 basically says that Nova Global won't limit any of the we'll basically open up the spigot at our demand, so they won't limit anything. In exchange, what we're agreeing to is pay $4 per infraction after 1,100. So if it's 1,100 infractions, we pay the standard $5,700 a month. Anyone over that, we would pay $4 additional. Having this in there allows me as the chief in the police department a little bit more flexibility to kind of limit it. Like during Lighthouse Festival, obviously we're going to want to, along with a public awareness campaign, but to lower speeds down because we have so many pedestrians walk around, especially after the fireworks show. So I guess, that's the first part. The second part is a second notice. So what many communities do is you get a traffic infraction, an automated traffic camera ticket. You look at it, maybe you forget to respond, and the next thing you get is a collection notice, basically saying, hey, you're now in collections. One of the things we wanted to do, and we've actually been doing a pilot program of this since September, is send out a second notice. Essentially, this is another letter to a resident that looks pretty similar to the infraction, but basically says, hey, on this date and time, you were mailed a traffic infraction, you haven't responded, there's now a $25 late fee, and if you don't respond within this many days, it's going to be referred to collections. So it essentially allows the driver or the registered owner one more chance to kind of respond, to request a hearing, to pay, to do a mitigation prior to being sent to collections. What we've seen during the pilot program is that's increased the payment rate by 10%, just doing that. We have the highest payment rate right now in Washington State. So we're at 72%, 71 to 73% of people, when they get their infractions, they're paying. When I first proposed this, I think we were estimating for about 55% is what you kind of see throughout the state is about the average. You know, I've actually had several other cities reach out to me, asking me kind of what are we doing on our program to be different. And I believe part of it is, one, by having our own hearing examiner system, it allows the court clerks more time to kind of follow up on stuff like that. But also the second notices, you see it goes from about 62% payment rate and almost the next month right to 72%. Again, that would be a $4 per fee for each additional second notice that gets mailed out. Any questions?
Not at the moment. Okay.
Okay. So I guess I would ask for a council motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract amendment with Nova Global to implement a $4 per infraction high volume fee and secondary notification process.
All right, first, before we do that, we're going to see if the public would like to address the council with regard to the Nova Global contract amendment, or online. Okay. You guys start coming more, you'll feel more comfortable to speak. All right, council. Council Vice President Emery.
Well, I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to authorize the mayor to sign the contract amendment with Nova Global to implement a $4 per infraction high volume fee and the secondary notification process.
All right, is there a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion by Council Vice President Emery, seconded by Council Member Vago. I'm right-eared. All right, Council Member Champion.
Thanks, Mayor. Chief, can we go back to the number one question that's asked of you of, did the other guy get the ticket? How does the camera work if two cars are speeding, one a little faster than the other, but both are speeding? Does it only pick one of the two?
No, oftentimes we will see it. You know, my response to the driver without taking the time to look it up is it's pretty good where we will see, you know, split seconds, it's able to capture the different vehicles.
Okay, so it can issue two citations?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I'm assuming there are times when the one vehicle's blocking the other's license plate that might prevent.
Yeah, and sometimes motorcycles you can't capture, but for the most part, it's a lot faster than me trying to stop and write two cars a ticket, that's for sure.
Yeah, it helps if there's a bus on your, as you're going up. All right, any further discussion on the motion from council? All right, well then we will go to a vote. One more, who are we missing? There we go. All right, that will pass unanimously. All right, thank you, council. What you bring us to, thank you, chief. All right, budget amendment, fiscal year 2026. Here comes short timer. Finance Director Nunez.
Good Good evening, esteemed mayor, council, and staff, and public. So yes, 7 days, working days, but I'm not counting. It just kind of popped into my head at this moment. I'm here to council motion to adopt ordinance 1537, amending the 2025-2026 biennial budget. Normally, I do an end-of-year biennial budget, waiting to see how the numbers, how expenditures and revenues even out during the year. But this year, I thought that I would give my successor a bit less work, or a bit less to ponder, or to get an idea of how this all works. So what I do is that I look at the budget that we have currently. I go through all of the agenda bills that have passed by, that the council has approved, and then I create the budget amendment. Any additional revenues that have been approved by the council, acceptance of grants, legislative authority to expend those funds, any increases in expenditures, in this case, the creation of the court clerk, another court clerk position, that is all incorporated into the budget amendment. So for the first half of the first 5 months of the year, I went through January through May, we had a few increases. In the general fund, for executive services, we had the appropriation of $65,875 for a consultant contract to determine if a commercial lease agreement at the waterfront property Lot 5 is possible. And my favorite office, the finance office, is requesting a $70,000 increase in various categories. In other professional services, we had a temporary fixed asset accountant position. It exceeded what we had anticipated originally and budgeted. It took a bit more time for her to go through and classify all the non-stormwater fixed assets, but that project has been completed. The second is we also hired, we were having some delays in some processing for payroll reporting, so we hired a temporary person to help bring payroll reporting and give some guidance to the payroll coordinator. We also had a buyout of a contract. We hired a temporary employee, then we had a position open, and this person applied. He was the best person for the position, the most qualified, and the one that we would have the least amount of training to do. And of course, you approved the creation of a new position in my office, a senior staff accountant. The primary responsibility is the fiscal grant management, but they also are going to be helping stormwater with their senior billing, senior discount billing. The planning and community development, you approved $74,500 related to the retention of a consultant to aid in determining whether it's feasible to establish the Mukilteo Dive Park. Council member Van Duzer had some questions about whether these funds had been approved in the park acquisition and development last year. And when I went back and looked at the recording, former council member Schmaltz had asked if the hiring of a consultant was an allowable expense, but it never went any further than that meeting that I was made aware. Also, we had very good news with an increase in the recreation. Snohomish County senior funding increased to $77,532, a $61,000 increase. So that increased the revenue, but it also increased expenditures because they're going to use those funds to increase a position from a .8 to a full-time position, and then also operation and program expenses for the senior program within Rose Hill. Public safety, the creation of the new assistant court clerk, that position had not been previously budgeted. It was budgeted as a part-time position with no benefits. With the approval of council, then we needed to add the full-time position plus the benefits associated with that. And council also approved the legislature expenditures related to grants, accepted the $1.4 million Transportation Improvement Board Urban Arterial Program grant, and also a U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets for All grant for $300,000. With that, the overall effect on the 2026 budget is it increased revenues 1.7 million and increased expenditures 982,000. Are there any questions?
Councilmember Van Duzer.
Just a couple of easy ones, I think. The buyout of the temporary employee, if I understood you correctly, you hired a person that was a temp, and I'm assuming these $15,000 was to the temp agency?
Yes.
Because you stole one of their
Yes.
employees? Okay, thank you. And then the other question, thank you for clarifying for me that it was just a conversation that former Councilmember Schmaltz asked. But is that something that we could still entertain at this point to move that money or to pay for the consultant out of park acquisition, or is that a moot point at this time?
It could still be entertained. You can approve it. It'll be here in the general fund, and then we can approve it after research to see if it is an allowable cost. We can bring it to the council as a budget amendment to transfer the funds from park acquisition and development to the general fund to cover this specific event, this expense. Or move the expense to the park and acquisition fund.
Councilmember Sturba.
Thank you, Mayor. I was curious, I didn't see it in Exhibit 1, but I thought I remembered a couple months back, there was a consultant, yeah, that one. There was a consultant line that we had an X amount of money reserved for consultants each year. Was that just in my figment of my imagination, or was that not there?
Can you repeat the question?
I thought there was a budget line that said for hiring consultants, right? That we had a certain amount of money set aside each year to hire consultant firms, for whatever may come up, like the two items that have come up here.
Every department has their own line for other professional services, so it depends on what they've budgeted for the year. If something comes up in a budget amendment, this is above and beyond what they've already budgeted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. Thank you very much. We go to public. We'd like to address the council with regard to the budget amendment or online. Okay. Back to council. Council Vice President Emery.
Well, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1537, amending the 2025-2026 biannual budget.
Is there a second? Second. All right, we have a motion by Council Vice President Emery, seconded by Councilmember Sturba. Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, we will vote. Or you will vote. All right, and that will pass unanimously. And thank you, Council. That will bring us to new business, either staff or council. Council President Moon.
Thank you, Mayor. With the prosecutor coming last week, I think it opened my eyes and maybe some of our eyes to some of the needs that we have on a county council level. Wondering if that's something that we want to, as a council, maybe send an email or do something to address that situation. I didn't know it was that dire, but I think it is something that we could encourage our county council to help our prosecutors and our law enforcement. Just an idea.
Councilmember Sturba.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, to echo that, I think Council President Moon absolutely would like to do something like that, right? That was eye-opening for that presentation, and to see no growth since 2008 with all the things we see around us and the growth in the populations. That's why I asked too, what could we do from where we're at, right, to help? But yeah, I think that's important, worthy work.
All right. Any further new business, or we will move on to council comments? Councilmember Duran.
I just want to compliment those who took the initiative to apply for the Civil Service Board and the Planning Commission. I'm every time I read the resumes and the forms that are filled out, I get more and more confident about the future of this city. We have a great bench of people to take on the next generation or the next shift, and I just want to thank those that took the effort to do it and to apply, and I look forward to working with them in the foreseeable future.
Yes, thank you. You know, it's rare that we have to shake the bushes. We usually have applications, which is great, right? So a community that likes to be involved and make a difference. So that is wonderful. Thank you for those words. Any other council comments? All right, public comment. This is your opportunity to talk to the council about anything you'd like, or online. Elaine Knapp.
Elaine Knapp, Mukilteo. I just want to thank Councilmember Duran for getting my surname squared away. I usually look at the notes before I come to the meeting, but I've been watching football nonstop, and right up until the game that's on now, which is Iran and Greenland. So I apologize that I didn't catch that myself. So I thank you, and I'm sure Mr. Damhoff thanks you as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Knapp. Rick Van Hollenbeck. All right, can you hear us? I know you. I see you're unmuted.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
That's great. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to take another run at this just to make sure that council and everybody kind of understands where I was coming from earlier. I knew that the current project for the Speedway wasn't part of this year's TIP, but I just want to remind everybody that within the complete street analysis that was developed and presented by the Washington State Department of Transportation, it does highly recommend that the improvements to sections 2 and 3 need to be completed due to safety concerns for bicyclists, pedestrians, cars, and such. And also the calming that really needs to be done as soon as possible, where the lanes go from 2 to 1 at the intersection of the Speedway and 5th Street. But in that document, it does say that it is recommended that the preferred alternative, which is alternative 3, which is sidewalks and bike lanes, for the corridor be implemented if and when the parcels are redeveloped and when future complete street projects are funded for 525. So I just know that maybe next year's TIP, it's such an important 2 sections of the corridor, that federal funds be gotten, or our own TIP next year would include the improvements to these 2 sections, because they really do need to be completed. I do understand the complexity on the west side of the Speedway there. Adding a sidewalk is going to be kind of tricky, but so is raising a bridge 2 to 3 feet, right? But I know it can be done. In the calming area, their plans were to reduce or eliminate the shoulder and revise how the road is constructed there, because something really needs to be done. So I just want to remind the council and ask you again that, keep these deferred improvements the top of your list, and maybe somehow they can be tracked moving forward, because they really need to be done. I think if we leave it up to the DOT to get sections 2 and 3 completely done, it might never get done. And when it does, it's just going to cost a heck of a lot more money. And we should be going after some federal funds to make sure sections 2 and 3 are completed in full. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Van Hollenbeck. Okay, back to the room if there's anybody like to address council. All right, then how about any staff comments? Yeah. Director Choffenchuk.
Council, I just wanted to share that for the parade coming up in September, our website is live. And so I could use your assistance getting the word out to businesses and members of the public who would like to enter into the parade. We had almost 50 units last year, and I think it'd be great to see that number increase closer to 100 this year. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are we talking about September already? Not yet, not yet. All right, any other staff comments? Okay. Very good job this evening. Very good. All right, we are adjourned.